So, welcome to Let's Talk Mazda, Alex, longtime friend. You drifted a pig. That's why I wanted you on the show. Is
Right.
How did you make a convertible NAFC drift?
It was a chore.
Was it an S5?
It was S4 with S5 lights. That's where it was. Yeah. So like 30 wheel horse to it, and it weighs rough. Now there's some people say differently. I never actually got to weigh it to confirm it, but I've heard anywhere between 33 and 3,450 pounds.
That's what I've heard too.
Weigh,
I drove an S5 convertible, and that was slow.
Oh yeah, this is slower, and this also had 150-some thousand, probably more, 1,000 miles.
But the thing about it, you made it slide. Like I've seen video, like. You weren't bad. Like, it wasn't like Kmart shopping mall, drifting around a light pole. Like, you took it to events.
I did what I could with it.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a lot of fun for what it was, despite being as slow as it was with as much weight as there is in there. Once you actually, get momentum going, you can get it to slide. Now, it's not the easiest thing by any means, but it was a lot of fun.
So why'd you choose that chassis? Did you choose it with drifting in mind or no?
Yeah, I had drifting in mind. I wanted to build a drift car. I'd wanted to build a drift car for a long time, and I liked Rotaries. I didn't know anything about them when I bought it. I just knew that they were weird and everyone hated them, and I was like, all right, that sounds fun. Like, I'm up for it. And so I... convertibles it wasn't my first choice, honestly.
Right.
But it was weird enough and different enough that I was okay with it. I was like, all right, I've never owned a convertible, and actually prior to my RX7, I'd only owned one car, and that was my RSX.
Yeah.
Okay. So it was like, okay, a convertible would be fun, and it's a very unique car. You never see convertibles. And I was like, oh, what's the worst that could happen? Like, I don't like it, and I expected it to be slow, but it was quite a bit slower than I expected, but it's...
So what's the story? Because didn't you buy one and then you got a different one? So what's that story?
All right, so I bought an S5 convertible, and it had a blown engine, running on one cylinder. It ran, but it was, on one cylinder.
One rotor.
Yeah, wow. It's been a while since I've talked Rotary.
The only reason I pointed that out is because I saw a Craigslist ad today, and they're like, yeah, it's only running on one cylinder, and it was posted on Facebook, and everyone was just baking them. I just want to save you the bake real quick.
Yeah. Yep. It's been quite a while since I've talked Rotary, so forgive me.
I appreciate you wearing the Rotary shirt, though.
I had to. So I bought an S5, needed an engine. I picked up an S4 engine because this was, a budget build in a sense.
Right.
Like, I was just trying to get it running so I could drive it and make sure I actually wanted to put money into the car. And S5 NA motors are really hard to find for sale, and if they're up, then they're either blown or they're expensive. So I found an S4, found all the parts through the help of a friend, found all the parts and was, guided in the right direction to convert it into running an S4 engine.
So it was an S5 chassis then?
Correct. So the first one was an S5 chassis.
Oh, okay.
So it was a red one as well. Both the parts started off red. So it was a red S5 manual. The interior was pristine, black interior.
Oh, wow.
So that was a selling point for me. But it had rocker rust, and But to me, I was like, okay, well, I can get that fixed on the line. It's not a big deal, whatever. It's just a little body work.
Right.
So I went through, did the whole swap. I got it all running, went to drive it, and instantly discovered the rotors were very warped. Now, I'm not sure if you're aware or not, but the S5s, I think S4 might as well, but the front hubs are aluminum.
Okay.
So the rotors tend to seize to those really bad.
I didn't know. I don't have much FC.
Okay.
knowledge.
So it's like a pretty common issue.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, okay, well, I'll replace my front rotors. I've done brakes. That's easy.
Yeah.
So I went to go do it, and 4 hours later, I finally cracked the rotor itself off of the rotor hat, and then I had to use an impact hammer around the hat to break that off. Finally, I put the front rotors on, front pads, everything, go drive it, still pulsating, this is great. Found it's from the rear, obviously. Well, all of the bolts, 3 of the 4 bolts for the calipers in the rear were broken off, and what was left was rusted in there. So I couldn't change that, so I kind of just had to deal with it a little bit. Anyways, it finally came time to actually start doing work to the car once I got it running. And I look under the car and realize, wow, I can see light through here. The floors were a little less than clean.
So this correct me if I'm wrong, you bought this red one off of Dane.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah. I bought off of its dad, so it was like a customer
Right.
of their shop. And then it ended up needing an engine, so they sold it to the shop for cheap. And
I remember when he got that,
Yeah.
and I wanted an RX-7 so bad, and I was so salty
Yeah.
that he got one before me, and then I didn't realize you ended up picking it up.
Yeah, it's funny because I was at one of the meets I was hosting back when I had time to do that, and
Yeah.
and he was there, and I was talking to someone about how I wanted an RX-7, and this is like right. But like I was like planning on starting to look for one. And I didn't even start looking at it. I was like, I want to look for an RX-7 soon once I get money together.
Yeah.
And he's like, wait, like you want an RX-7? Well, yeah, I'd love one. That'd be cool. So, actually, I know one. Like, are you willing to put an engine in it? I'm like, I have no idea. You know, I was new as a tech at that point, so I didn't know too much. And I was like, I mean, sure, a project would be cool. Like, how much do you want? And he was like, all right, $500. Done deal. Sure, I'll take it.
$500? Are you serious?
So, now, at that same meet, I was talking to someone else. Now, I was like, all right, cool, I'll pick it up next week, whatever. At that same meet the next week, I was talking to someone else about how I was picking up an RX-7 that needed an engine. And he was like, oh, I've got a friend who has an engine sitting around that he would sell to you. I'm like, why is this all working out so well? All right, cool, I'll take it. Bought that engine. That guy that I bought it from ended up being one of the people that helped me get the car all together. He had a lot of knowledge on what he was doing and was able to help assemble it or help.
It wasn't Adam, was it?
No, well, Adam did help,
Okay,
but this is another guy, Alex. He also
okay.
sold his car since then. He had a white turbo too, it was an NA shell anyway, or 10th anniversary shell. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
But anyways,
those are sick.
yeah, it was. He sold that and I disappeared from the car scene. But so
anyway,
so he helped me. He got me the motor and he helped me with a lot of the wiring and all the different things I needed to change.
Right.
Adam and Eddie came and helped out one day, and he gave me a lot of advice as well because he's the guy to go to for that.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I'll get him on the podcast soon enough. I haven't got him on yet.
Oh yeah, that'd be a good one.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome. It's incredible what he does for the Rotary community locally.
Yeah.
I don't know how he has time to help everyone, but everyone I know with a Rotary car can tell you some story on how he came and helped them and saved their day.
And that's the thing is that like you telling the story of like, oh, you talk to a guy who has a buddy who has an engine. That's how like all of the Rotary community works. You got to know a guy who knows a guy who has a shed full of parts.
What I've discovered is RX7 or Rotary owners in general are all hoarders.
Yes.
They'll never tell anyone that they have all these parts. But then if you mention like, hey, I really need this part, like, okay, actually, well, I've got like 15. Yeah, they've got like a shed full of that one part. And you're like, all right, cool.
You should see the back corner of my garage.
Yeah.
It's this guy. I actually met up with the previous owner of my car who owned it 2004 2008, and we were talking and stuff. And he goes, I have all these FB parts. He had a whole shelf of them. I filled the back seat of my G6 with like a door card. Every interior trim piece, rear carpeting. He was like, I don't want it. Yeah. So I got all these parts. It's just like, it's who you know.
Yeah, and I've got a bunch of FC stuff left over still. It's just little stuff. Like
I bought your S5 intake.
Right, I've just got stuff sitting there. I've got a box full of it. And like occasionally I'll see someone like, hey, who has this part? I'm like, yes, I can get rid of that part. Like, here, please get rid of this for me. Like, I don't have an RX-7, and none of this stuff will be stuff I'll need down the line.
Someone should put together a swap meet for RX-7 people.
That would,
because classic car people do that, but I've never seen an RX-7 one.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be a very successful thing because everyone has tons of parts, and it's a lot of the people that have little things that they don't want to take the time to put up because they don't think it's worth it. But you bring a bunch of little things out, set them all on a table, and it's like, all right, I need half the stuff you have. Cool, thanks.
Yeah.
But no, it's pretty incredible how many different things just fell in place throughout the first RX-7 and the second one. It's just, and everyone's willing to lend a helping hand. Yeah. I've literally never seen a community like it. I had when I started the RSX club that I ran, my first car was the RSX, and that was, when I first got my driver's license, I was like, all right, I want to start a club. And I found, there's a forum, and I found people through there, and then we made a club, and everyone was, friendly, and they were, they'll help you over Facebook or like messages, whatever. Mm-hmm. But like in the Rotary community, it's like, oh, you need help? I'll come over there and drive an hour to come help you.
That's what Adam
I don't even
did.
know you though, but like, that's the thing. Like the guy Alex that sold me the motor, he's like, oh yeah, I've got a buddy who's a Rotary guru, and all right, cool. And then I didn't expect him to actually come help, and this was when I was putting the motor back in. And he was like, "Oh yeah, you're putting an engine in a car? Yeah, I'll come help out, sure." And he and Eddie drove it. They drove an hour out there, just come hang out and help out. And no money was involved. Like he wasn't like, "Oh yeah, pay me and I'll come out."
Right.
Never. And I I offered him like, "Hey, I'll take care of you. I'll get you drinks. I can give you some money if you." He's like, "No, don't worry about it. It's fine. Like, no, don't worry about it. Let's get this engine in. That's it. It's as simple as that." And there's a lot of good people in the community, and that's something I miss being in the Infiniti community.
Yeah, which we'll get to.
I don't want anything to do with that community. I'm not I don't know. It's a very different community coming from both communities I've interacted with in the past.
I could see that. Well, I feel like Rotary is such like a niche thing that because G35s, G37s and stuff
they're common.
They're pretty common, and you kind of get all walks of life. I feel like where Rotaries, it takes you have to be
a
special person,
an idiot. And you have to be brave. And that neither of those are in a bad way. I love Rotary. And I was that idiot. You have to be dumb enough to take on the task of trying to figure out what the hell a rotary engine is. Because they're so unique that you can't just, I know about cars, hop on in, all right, that's not normal. Something's wrong in this engine bay.
My friends and I have come up with, if you own a Rotary, you have to hate yourself, but you have to enjoy hating yourself. That's what the Rotary community comes down to.
That's pretty accurate.
So how'd you switch from this first chassis to the second? What was that transition? Because your second chassis, I think, was pretty perfected for an NA's standard port.
Well, okay, so that was another thing that came into play way too well. So I found out that this was rusty, and I was like, all right, that's the end of this. I'm not going to put any more money into it. It's not worth it because it's still a rusted out chassis. And I thought it was just rocker rust. It wasn't. So I was like, all right, the floor's rusted out, the rockers are rusted. I don't know what else is going to be rusted. I don't want to deal with that. So I was like, all right, I'll cut my losses here and just, I'll drive it as is until I can find something else to pick up. And a guy I went to UTI with multiple years prior to that, he had messaged me on Facebook, and he's like, "Hey, I saw you have an RX7. The shop that I work for has a shop car. We picked up an FC Vert. We were going to build it for a track car, and then picked up an RX8 instead. So we're, looking to either part out this car, or if you want to buy it as a whole, that too."
Right.
Like, wait a second, all right, does it have any rust? I'm like, no, it's clean. There's no rust. The paint wasn't great. It was resprayed, but no big deal. The only catch was that it had no interior, except for 2 seats and a chopped up dashboard, so it's just the cluster.
They actually physically cut
They cut
the
it. I still have the cut dash. Adam actually asked me about that. Once he ever gets his car together again, he wanted that.
He just got the last parts for his motor.
That's good to hear.
Yeah.
So he'd asked me about that, a year and a half ago. And he was like, "Yeah, once I get things together, I'll take that half dash." I'm like, "All right, cool." And I've been holding it for him, waiting for something to happen. But so no door panels, no window switches, no carpet, no center console, nothing. Literally everything was stripped out.
Stock seats or
stock seats? Okay. Very worn stock seats. Because they were gonna make it a drift track car. I don't know their intentions entirely, but it had a hydro mounted in it, but not hooked up. So they made a bracket and bolted it down. But there's no lines run or anything. So
I'd assume drift.
I'd assume so. But they also did a lot of time attack and whatnot. And whatever. Either way.
Okay.
So he's like, yeah, I mean it's got no rust, but it needs an interior and it needed a idle mixture screw because they stole that off of that car for another car.
Okay.
I was like, well, actually, this kind of works out perfect because I have a S5 with a perfect interior. And the chassis is not great. All right, yeah, you know what? How much for the shell? And I ended up getting that for a great price as well. Drove up to Sheboygan, Wisconsin. It was about 3 hours away.
Okay.
And tossed the idle mixture screw in it and drove it 3 hours back home, not knowing anything about the car and just hoping that it'd make it back. Now, it had a full 3-inch straight pipe with a Racing Beat header. So it was very loud.
Adios eardrums.
Oh yeah, it was terrible. I had 2 friends come up with me, and so one of them was riding with me on the way back. The other one was in my Acura, and he was about a mile back on the highway, and he could still hear me just cruising. I wasn't flooring; I was just cruising on the highway, and he could still hear it,
Yeah.
And my friend that was riding with me, halfway back in the drive, he's like, "Hey, can we pull over? I gotta get in the Acura. I can't stand this noise anymore." I'm like, "That's understandable. I can't either."
Just get those big shooting range headphones.
Yeah. It was brutal, but made it back fine. No issues with that. And right away, went and put my Racing Beat exhaust off my S5 onto that one, and I took the full interior, swapped it over, swapped the convertible top over because the one in the S5 was clean and fresh, and then that's where it all started with the purple car. So,
yeah, so I'll put up video, because I still have some rolling shots of your purple car from a long time ago.
I remember that.
That thing it looked really cool. It looked unlike any other FC that I've seen with the purple wrap.
It was definitely an interesting color. And I bought Aero for it, and I was going to get cool wheels and stuff for it, and I wish I had gone through with that, because it would have looked a lot better. But I was still pretty happy. It was a very simple but effective look. And it stood out, that's for sure.
Yeah, it was an eye catcher at meets. And
yeah.
So how did you start drifting it then? Did you just start going to events?
I had through my photography, I'd been in the drifting community for probably about 2 years at that point, maybe a year and a half, 2 years, I don't know. And I'd been to a lot of events at USA International Raceway up in Shawnee, Wisconsin.
Okay.
So I'd been up there to that track a bunch of times to shoot coverage of it, and I always saw the cars out there. I was like, this is amazing, like this is what I want to do. I want to be able to get a car that I can bring up here and do that. And so I had literally I rushed to get the car together for the last event of the season when I had picked up the S4, and all I had on the car was a welded diff, coilovers, and some aftermarket wheels that came on the car, and that was all that was done to the car at that point, which it's all you really need.
Yeah, right.
Unless your car is that slow, then it makes it a little interesting. But I went to my first event. It rained. I did horrible. I could not figure out how to drift for the life of me, but I still had a blast.
Yeah.
And it was very discouraging at first because I went out there like, all right, this is gonna be so fun. I'm gonna I'm gonna have a blast. I'm gonna
tandems the first time.
I mean, not that.
Yeah.
But I was like, all right, this is gonna be awesome. I can't wait to actually drive this track that I've been watching and dreaming of driving on.
Right.
And I get out there and I'm like, wow, this is really hard. All right, I have a whole new respect for all these drivers. Yeah. And so I went back to the drawing board with the car and I was like, all right, the whole time of owning that car, it was always me trying to figure out. I knew my driving wasn't the best, but I was trying to figure out, something with this car just doesn't feel right. It was inconsistent. It was obviously hard to get sideways, and it was a weird chassis to drive. But I was motivated to make it work, so I went back to the drawing boards and started doing all these different bushings and arms. And by the time
you pretty much did every bushing, right?
By the time I got rid of that car, every single bushing on the car had been replaced with either a poly or a solid bushing. Essentially every arm that could be replaced with an adjustable arm was replaced. I mean, everything.
Did you ever do motor mounts?
I did.
Did you do solids?
I didn't do solid. I did poly.
Okay.
I was afraid to do solid.
Because I just did solids on my car, and it feels so good.
Really?
Yeah.
See, I did solid, accidentally did solid trans mounts, and by that I mean I went to do the trans mount, the center trans mount. There's the center one, and then there's the two side bushings, right? So I went to do the center one, didn't realize it was the upper ones, and when I went to pull the bolts off, the bolt, it's like a stud pressed into the bushing, and it just pulled right out of the bushing. I was like, oh, that's not good. So I ended up having to drill it out and put a bolt all the way through. Didn't click in my head until I drove the car that was making all the vibration go straight through that bushing.
Oh, right.
So I'm driving, it's like shaking. I'm like, oh god, this is horrible. Like, all right, well, I guess I have ghetto solid trans mount now, but I had, solid diff bushings, solid the spherical PBM subframe bushings.
Oh, wow, okay.
All the knuckle bushings were replaced with solid bushings, everything.
So how'd that make the car feel?
It made it feel a lot more solid, but the entire time I owned the car, I was trying to figure out why it felt so inconsistent. And it literally, I kept on thinking, oh, it's got to be a bushing that's worn, that's long someplace somewhere, And I kept trying to replace parts thinking that it was that. And finally, the end of the season, the end of the year and a half that I drifted the car, I realized, I'm like, all right, no, I've replaced everything. It's just the fact that it's a 3,400-pound car with maybe 80 wheel horse, I don't know, somewhere around there, and a short wheelbase with 50/50 weight. It's not meant to be a smooth car sideways. It's meant to handle, which it could do fine if it didn't have a welded in it, but it just, despite being fun, it wasn't the right formula. Now, if it had more power, that'd change a lot of things. But being that low power, it's hard.
Did you
to
ever
drift.
consider a port or turbo? I feel like every vert owner dreams of a turbo 2 swap.
I ordered a S5 Turbo 2 swap.
Really?
From an importer. Placed the order. I was like, all right, I'm doing this. I need to do it. It's got to happen.
I didn't know this.
I placed the order, and then I'm all excited and nervous. I'm like, all right, I'm doing this. This is scary. I went through and I started ordering parts for the swap, and the block off plates and little things like that. And I had the list made of everything I needed, and then I went to check the status of the order, and it said canceled. And I was like, what? All right, so I went back on the website and reordered it. And then the next day, canceled. I'm like, what is going on? I'm trying to get this engine, but, so I called them. Oh, yeah, sorry, we're out of stock, blah, blah, blah. They'll be back in a month. Well, 3 days later, it comes back up live on the site in stock for $1,000 more than it was up for. I'm like, all right, that's not happening. Sorry, I guess I'm not doing the swap now. So I was very close to that. In fact, I also picked up a ported S5 engine that I was going to run and then got sketched out with because everything seemed...
You actually picked up the engine?
I bought it. Yeah, I drove. I made a 6-hour drive each way to go pick it up. Got out there and that was a whole mess. The guy was like, "Oh yeah, you can pay with PayPal." Blah blah blah. I get there and he was like, "All right, so you have the money, right?" And I'm like, "Yeah." You said PayPal's fine, right? He's like, "Oh no, only for part of it." All right, so I had to go try and find an ATM. All sorts of a mess. And then I get there, and the guy on online seemed. It was through Craigslist, and he seemed to know what he was talking about, and he seemed to, be a reputable seller.
Right.
And I get there, and he's like, all right, let's go. And he, walks me out to this shed in his backyard with just a pile of parts, and, digs out the engine, and, it just... the only reason I ended up buying it was because I was like, you know what, I'm making a 12-hour round trip, I have to come home with something.
Yeah.
And it just, I had, an uneasy feeling about it. I was like, I don't know if I want to trust this build. It was apparently a freshly built motor.
But sitting in the back of a...
Right. Yeah. And he's like, oh, yeah, it was in my buddy's... And I was like, did it run fine when it was pulled? And he's like, oh, yeah, it was in my buddy's convertible, but he had to sell the car. And I'm like, but it ran fine. And he kept, avoiding the question. He's like, yeah, well, it had a vacuum leak, so it didn't really idle. And I'm like, or is it because it's a bad build? And I just got sketched out. And I was like, all right, you know what? I'm going to sell this to someone who knows what they're doing, and they can figure out if it's actually good or not.
So you turned around and sold it, I assume?
So I sold it, yeah. I sold it for what I paid for it, just, cut my losses and didn't end up going through that. And there were a lot of times where I was very close to swapping it. Yeah. And I do wish I had, but...
I wonder what would have happened if that Turbo 2 swap came through.
I'm sure I would still have the car. Being that far into the car, all the money I spent on suspension made it hard to justify getting rid of it, but let alone a full powertrain swap.
Yeah.
I would probably be in the car still. But, it happens. I'm not mad that I didn't get any of those swaps because I like the car I have now. Yeah. And it got me out of a vert, so now I can get a coupe. Yeah. Like I wanted. Yeah,
that's true. I really do hope you get a coupe at some point.
I 100% will. Once I get a place, then I'm gonna get one. That's the next step. Me and a buddy are both planning on picking up coupes, and we're gonna do a lot of time attack and.
That'll be awesome.
We're just gonna build them very simply and just do as many. It's gonna be like a seat time car, just simple and just effective, but. I miss rotary cars. I can't rev out my Infinity. All right, let's rev it out to 6,000 RPM. Okay, cool.
So I think we should talk about that. If you're listening just for Mazda stuff, we're probably not going to talk about a whole lot of Mazda stuff because you switched up to a G35 sedan, right?
Correct.
Now, how's that? I mean, I assume it's worlds better than drifting the convertible.
I won't lie. It's a lot more fun in the aspect. Well.
It's more consistent.
It's hard to explain. Yeah, so the Infinity is a very smooth car to drive. It's got 4 times the caster up front that Mazda did. So I'm used to gripping the wheel for my life. If I let go of it, I'm going off track. You gotta really gotta work the wheel to keep it steady. And the Infinity, I can just throw the wheel around. One finger. It's so smooth and refined.
Some of your in-car video on your Instagram and stuff is so cool
I get too comfortable in the car sometimes. I'm just like.
The other thing is you got AC going.
Oh, I know. That's the thing. So that RX7, when I got it, since everything was stripped out, and everything, it had no heater core. It had no, it didn't have AC, defrost, nothing. Literally everything was stripped out. So I was like, oh, it's a convertible. I just put the top down.
Yeah.
It doesn't work when it's 90 degrees out and sunny, because then you're hot and you're getting baked in the sun. Right. So I'd be miserable out there, and I'd come back from all these events with my neck bright red and my arms bright red on the top, and it was bad. But I was like, all right, whatever car I get next, it's going to have heat, it's going to have AC, and it's going to have defrost. Because sliding in the rain in a convertible sucks without defrost.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, cool. I'll put the top up, put the windows up. Oh, wait, I have no defrost. Then it gets foggy. Put the windows down, then you get wet, the interior gets wet, and you're just like, all right, this doesn't work very well. There's no ventilation, median. And if you open a window, you get soaked, and because the windows on that car, they're slanted in a little, so the rain just completely soaks you. There's no protection. So with the Infiniti, I'm that guy now. I'm sitting in the line waiting to do my run, windows up, tints and everything. Can't see me. AC is blasting, and I'm just comfortable. It's a big difference.
Luxury. And so you said you're talking about the longer wheelbase is better too, right?
Yeah, it's a lot more controllable and it's a lot more smooth to have because like a shorter wheelbase is going to be more twitchy.
Right.
And now sedans, contrary to popular belief, the sedans have the same wheelbase as coupes. But it's still significantly longer than that. Like G35 Coupe.
I was like, RX7s.
Sorry. Everyone thinks, it's a sedan, so it's going to be extra long, but it's not. It's the same as a coupe. But
okay.
FC to G, it's a huge difference.
Yeah.
It's crazy. And, I mean, that makes that car way easier to learn how to drive in than the FC. I mean, my first event, I was like, all right, it's going to be another learning, adventure. And I go in and I do like one lap. And I'm like, well, that felt good. I feel kind of comfortable. Like, all right, this is a weird feeling. Like feeling like the car's composed. And
do you have a hydro in the?
No, okay. I don't. My e-brake works for parking, and that's about it. This is going on.
So you don't use your e-brake at all.
This is going on year 2 of drifting without an e-brake. My FC e-brake did not lock up, and that's a story I don't like talking about. I literally replaced every single e-brake related component in that car, and I had spent hours and hours trying to adjust it because there's a special formula to adjusting it properly, and it never locked. I tried 4 different types of pads and everything, and no matter what I did, wouldn't even come close.
I feel like there are some parts of RX7s that are just destined to not work.
It's bizarre because people buy a stock RX7 FC and they just buy it and like, oh look, my e-brake locks up perfect. I didn't touch anything, and then I replace everything with brand new components, and no matter what, it won't lock up. And I need to get different e-brake shoes for the Infiniti, and then if that doesn't work, I'm very stubborn. I don't want to put a hydro in my car
because you have a really clean interior.
Right. I like the look of a simple interior. Like my interior, besides the buckets, is very. You look at it and it's like, all right, that could be comfortable.
Oh, I didn't realize you had buckets.
Yeah, I have 2 Buddy Club buckets. Okay. I would not bother driving. I tried sliding that car with stock seats once, and I ended up in the passenger seat. I'm like, this is scary. Let's get buckets. Yeah. I've got 2 buckets in it, and I mean, as for the interior, it's really simple. It's just a doubled-in radio, dumb shift knob, steering wheel, and buckets, and that's all I needed in there.
It's simple though. I like
that. Because I don't like the gaudy, stripped out interior that took you 10 pounds off the weight of your car and made it 20 times more uncomfortable and noisy and ugly.
Because you drive your car the 4 hours to Shawan.
Yeah, it's 4.5 hours each way to the track. So I want to be comfortable. I'll sacrifice the small weight savings that some people
can buckets justify. Are comfortable?
Oh, I love them.
Okay, I'll have to look into
some buckets.
I want to get buckets.
The Buddy Clubs are awesome. They're affordable and they're quality and comfortable. I've seen a lot of different buckets, and they're not comfortable like for a half-hour car ride, let alone 4 hours. And I get to USA after a 4.5-hour drive in a bucket, and I get out and I feel great. I'm not like, oh my back, this sucks. Like I love them. I'm very, very fond of those seats, but
I'll have to look into those.
Yeah, I highly recommend them.
So, let's talk about photography.
Okay.
Because I saw that you just started Tracer Media.
Correct.
You've kind of switched over to that because you've been taking pictures forever.
Yeah, I've been shooting for a while, and I was shooting. I had my name was just my actual name, right? Alex Nagy Photography, and I wanted to create an actual branding for my work rather than just first name, last name, basic stuff.
Why Tracer?
I wish I had a good reasoning, but literally,
it sounds cool.
For like the past year, I've been like, all right, I want to start my own branding for my photography. Let's do this, and I was stuck on the name. That was it. I was stuck on the name, and I couldn't think of a name, and that was all that was holding me back from starting it. And finally, I was like, all right, the name doesn't matter that much. No matter what it is, no one's gonna care that much about the name as long as it's not just dumb. And I was snowboarding. I was on the ski lift, and like the word Tracer went through my head. I was like, Tracer Media. All right, pull out my phone, open up notes, typed it in. I'm like, all right, that's the name. Let's do this. Let's get the ball rolling.
Yeah.
And then I had my brother go and design some logo ideas, and I started sketching some ideas, and
I've been meaning to pick up a sticker from you. I want to
brought
get
some
one of those.
for you.
Really?
Yes, I did.
It's Christmas super early.
It is.
Because I think that the logo's super cool. It's super clean.
Yeah.
And I think it's really cool that your photography, obviously you've been doing it for a while, but you're not just like another kid who has their parents' DSLR.
Right.
And granted, I was there once in high school.
Right.
I was taking
You gotta
pictures.
start somewhere.
Yeah, you gotta start somewhere. I'm not bashing that if you're a kid with their mom's DSLR, but you're way beyond that. I think your photos are like legitimately art, I would say.
I appreciate that a lot.
Yeah.
I still like my big reason for starting a media branding for it was kind of to push myself to start to work more at learning more about photography. Because I took a class in high school, a photography 101 class, and I didn't know anything about photography at that point. I had a DSLR for like 6 months prior to getting in the class, and I didn't know what I was doing, but the teacher was asking me to explain stuff for him.
Wow.
And I'm like, all right, this isn't going to help much.
Yeah.
And so I didn't learn anything from that class. And I never, had another chance to take a photography class. I mean, I've had chances, I just don't have the time.
Yeah.
And I've always, I don't know, I'm never content with my work. I'll, shoot some pictures and like, okay, I like this, but it's okay, And I really want to push myself and get a following to help push me to expand my work, to start shooting more than just cars, start going out traveling for shooting, and really learn a lot more, because I've got a lot of learning to do with my work, and I'm trying to really just hunker down and actually get going on that, because for years I've been like, all right, I want to improve, and then I just keep shooting, and I don't feel like I've made enough of an improvement over the years that I've been shooting, so I want to start actually making change.
I get that, but I see your work, and it's really good. It's impressive. And so how do you go to events and shoot? Because I did video for my friend Caleb once.
Okay.
And it was this it was a rallycross event in the mud.
Oh yeah, okay.
And it was I had to sign an online waiver thing, and then I had to bring my own vest, and then I got there, and it's just 8 rednecks in a field, and they're like, you just stand over there.
You just do your thing.
Yeah, and I was like, okay, so how do you, because you've gotten into some events doing official photography.
Yeah, I mean, I've shot for which is no longer a thing, Midwest Drift Union, which was a branch of Formula D. It funneled into Formula D, so it was part of that series essentially, but it would you'd have that series, and the top, I believe, 2 drivers from each season would get the chance to get a Formula D license. So I shot for that. I probably did 6 or 7 events with that, maybe around there, and that was really fun.
Yeah.
That was back when I didn't have as many responsibilities and I could travel a lot more. So I went out to Indiana, St. Louis, all sorts of different events to shoot, and it was an awesome experience. And that I just reached out to the organizers of them, and it took a couple tries. I was like, hey guys,
just
over
through
here,
email or call?
They have a media submission. I'd submit it, and then you don't hear back right away. And I was like, all right, maybe a second one might. And then, all right, cool, here's your chance. Now, actually. The first event I ever shot was Automass. I don't know if you've heard of Automass.
I remember Automass. Did they still do Automass or no?
It's different now. They recently brought it back, but they're in collaboration with JDM Chicago and Grid Life.
Okay, because I remember freshman year when I didn't have a license.
So it was at, what was it, Toyota Park or something?
Yeah, that's where the Paul Walker meet was, if you ever went to those.
I didn't go to the ones that were there. I went to them, I went to the first one when it was, I don't know, it was on... I don't remember what it was, but whatever.
Toyota Park, though, I know that, yeah.
So it was the car show and drift event. And this was one of the first local drift expos, I guess you could call it. Because there was events at Road America on their go-kart track, and there was events at US Air, but nothing actually local.
Right.
So this was new to the area. Everyone's like, oh, I've always heard of drifting, but I've never actually witnessed it. I've never watched it. Never, And there's a lot of people that was when Junk House and Risky Devils were there. It was mostly street drifting, because there weren't many tracks around. So a lot of what they did was street drifting, and so I had heard about that kind of the teams and the different drivers, vaguely. Yeah. Right. I wasn't big into drifting at this point. I'd watched some FD and some D1 Grand Prix and that stuff, but I never really got like very into it, and I admired it, but it was never something I was super interested in. But then I saw Automaster. I'm like, oh, that looks cool. Like, I'd be interested in that. And I still don't know how, but somehow I managed to get a media pass for that. And I guess someone assumed that I'd had experience shooting events and stuff, and they gave me a media pass. And I was like, all right, cool, let's do this. So I went out there with absolutely no knowledge, shot a bunch of pictures that I'm not proud of. I mean, they were, for my first event, it was, good, but I had a blast, and I was like, this is amazing. Like, I love this. I love shooting these events. All right, cool. When's the next one? And by my photos being, out there, I found out about some of the other drivers and started talking to them.
So where'd you publish those?
That was actually when I first started shooting for Cars Hype.
Oh, I remember that. Yeah.
I think that was my second post. Like
so
the second
like
thing I ever
blog,
published.
Right?
So it's an automotive blog. Yeah. And so that was, I believe, like maybe second or third post on their site that I made with while shooting with them. And so I published them there, and I started to get to know some of the drivers through that. And then one of them was like, "Hey, there's this club called Club FR. They host what they call D-Day, Drift Day."
Yeah. Okay.
And I was like, "Oh, okay, cool. Where are they?" And like, "Oh, actually, there's one coming up at Road America." "Oh, cool. I've been there with my dad, for like road racing and stuff. I'd love that. Like, I'll go out there." So I grabbed a couple friends, and we went out and went to spectate one of those, and I got to take some pictures there. I don't remember if I had I think I had a media pass for that.
Okay.
I think I somehow managed to acquire one for that. And I shot that event, and once I saw that, like, it was a go-kart track, but it was a track. I was like, this is like, all right, I'm in love with this sport, and I can't wait. I can't get enough of it. And so from then on, I just like every single D-Day I could get to shoot, I'd go to. So I was in high school, driving 4.5 hours away to go shoot these events.
Yeah.
And I was awesome. I loved it. And that's I loved shooting pictures. It was something new to me and everything. But that was what really sealed the deal. I'm like, all right, like, I love photography. Like, this is awesome getting to, capture that moment and have it, say, hey, look at this. Remember this moment. Like,
right. See, video has always been the same. Like, I just feel so much more accomplished traveling for video. Right. Like, when we went up to Final Bout and I filmed all that stuff, like, that was just so cool to me because I felt like we were actually, like, accomplishing things.
Yeah, I've always wanted to get into video.
That was gonna be my next question, is why you haven't ventured into video much. I see your driving video, which I think you should post somewhere. You should post up, like, on YouTube. If you haven't already, you might have.
No, I haven't really posted. I used to post my, like, autocross videos from my Acura on YouTube back in the day.
Can I find that somewhere?
I could probably find links to that. That was recorded on my Kodak PlaySport.
Wow. You were really
good
balling
times.
Back in the day.
It was pretty sweet. So I've always admired cinematography, and it honestly blows my mind on what people do with video work, and I've always wanted to, but my first DSLR, it wasn't that great with. Well, my first one.
What do you shoot with now?
I currently have a 5D Mark III. I just recently upgraded.
You totally do video.
Oh yeah.
I think
so.
I think Iron Man 2 was shot on mostly a 5D Mark II.
I
believe.
I wouldn't be that surprised. I'm very impressed with the quality of the camera.
It was the scene where the guy's cutting the Indy cars in half.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure that was shot on the 5D Mark II or
cool.
3.
So I had a T3i, and actually, I could probably find these and show you. I had a couple of videos. I probably made like 3 or 4 videos from drift events. I was trying to figure out how to do video work.
What I use?
Huh.
I still use my T2i.
Ooh.
That's what I rock.
It works.
I got a new lens for it, and it changed the whole camera. Like, it made
What lens was that?
It's a 24mm.
Okay.
It's from
Do you
Canon.
have any, like, 50mm?
I have the stock 58mm that came from it. It's in rough shape.
Let me tell you, a 50mm 1.4 or 1.8 will change your life.
Okay.
It's incredible. It's like the prime lenses like that are my dream lenses. I don't know why. I love them. It's such a low aperture, and it's really cheap to get one of those lenses, so you don't feel bad about buying it.
Yeah.
But it's like a perfect range, and I don't know. I shot mostly with a 50mm for the past 3-4 years.
Really?
Basically, all my shoots were shot on 50mm. Aside, like, now some of the shots. Okay, until recently, I finally upgraded my camera body and my lenses, but until probably like this past winter, I was shooting with a kit lens 18 to 128.
Okay.
And then a 50 millimeter 1.8. And
the 50 millimeter is fixed then, right?
Right.
Okay. And you're shooting drifting with that?
So I was shooting drifting with... Now, that was mostly for stills. For drifting, I was shooting with the 18 to 135.
I was going to say, because you can't get too
18
close.
18 to 135, that's what it was.
Okay.
And then I had a 55 to 250, the zoom lens, another kit lens.
I think that's what I have too.
Okay. It worked. It was great for what I needed. And I used that for basically all the drift photos I've taken until this past event I just shot. I finally upgraded to a 70 to 200 2.8 IS2.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I love that lens.
Yeah?
Oh my god.
That good?
It hurt my heart to purchase, but I was like, you know what? Like, if I just put a bunch of money into equipment, that means that I have to start working to be able to shoot to the level of my equipment.
Right.
So now I'm just in a position where I have to shoot or work on, shooting better
you have
to
like
justify it.
A wider field of play, basically.
But I shot with a 50D for the past probably 2 years. 1.5 years, probably. And I shot with a T3i from the start to there. I had a 10D, but I used that for like a couple months. It was a 10D my grandpa gave me.
Okay.
And I used that for a couple months, and it was, at that point, it was like 7 years old. So I wanted to get something new. So
have you ever
T3i.
shot on film?
I have a film camera, and I was really excited to use it. I finally got film for it, went to go use it, and then it doesn't work. So
I would be really interested to see you shoot like an event on film.
That's something I've wanted to do.
Because I have a film camera that works with Canon lenses. I mean, it's a Canon Rebel from like the late 90s.
Okay.
So it looks the same as my T2i, and the lenses snap onto it, but it shoots film.
That's pretty cool.
I would love to see a film event.
Yeah, I want to do that. I should get a newer film camera, because the one I have is a Minolta SRT 101.
I don't even know what
it's
that is.
It's a very old camera. It's like a steel body. Like it's cool. It's an awesome camera, and I wish it worked.
Old stuff works. Well, not that one, but old stuff usually. Yeah. This tripod that I use is from the 40s.
I don't doubt that.
Like, it obviously looks like it,
my
but it works
new
the
tripod
best.
that I spent way too much money on isn't working now. One of the legs starts to sag. I'm like, come on! Like I bought the top of the line. Well, not top of the line, but I bought a nice tripod because I wanted it to last.
Yeah.
And it's got the little twist knob, and you can twist it, and then it just starts to sag. And I was doing a video shoot recently, actually, and I was using a slider. I'm very new to video work, and I was playing around with it. I had a slider and everything, and it was the first time I was using it, and I'm using it, and like I just realized, I'm like, wait a second, what's happening? No, hold on, and the camera slides off. I'm like,
that's one thing is this thing cannot support a slider.
Yeah.
But after we're done filming, pick it up, because it's like the lightest tripod ever, but it's sturdy, and it works with my DSLR. It obviously works with the GoPro, because that's like an eighth of a
that's
pound.
all you need.
It's all I need.
Unless you're starting to use sliders and whatnot, then it's different. But
which I've been meaning to. I have a slider. I haven't touched it in forever.
Yeah, it's weird to get used to. And to learn how to shoot with. Now I have no knowledge of shooting video. Like I have a little knowledge on photography, but absolutely nothing on video. Mm-hmm. So I'm just completely starting from scratch learning. And I was shooting some product videos for a friend's company. And
Nick?
Yeah. Pilk.
Okay.
So
is that how you say it?
Yes.
Pilk?
Pilk. Yeah.
Okay. I thought it was Pilk.
So we were shooting one of my friend's cars, and some guy came up. He was like, "Wait a second, like you guys are Pyolk, right? I saw you on Instagram or something shooting, blah blah." And we're like, "All right." So like from the start, like I know the name because I've heard it.
Right.
But then, like, we never, like, I was like, I wonder if people know. And they're like, oh, there's only one way you can really say it. And I heard that, and then what you said, I'm, like, realizing, like, all right, there's a lot of ways you can say this. And none of them sound right. And none of them are right. But it's going to be, so I don't know. But they're like, all right, we want to shoot a product video. And I was like, cool. I've never shot one, but I'd love to learn. So it's a good experience for me to do it. So we were shooting some work, and it was interesting trying to learn, but...
Yeah. Has that video come out yet?
No.
Have I seen that
yet?
It
has not. I'm still learning how to process the videos. I'll get to that soon.
What do you have for editing?
I don't have a real program. I have Windows Movie Maker. I need to actually get a program.
Dude, I edit everything on iMovie. Don't
really?
tell anyone. Here's the thing. Is I've done it for the last 9 years just on iMovie. Yeah. So, like... I've used Premiere. I used Premiere at school for class and stuff, and like I'm fine with it. But with iMovie, I just like it's like the back of my hand now that like I could chop it up and send it out.
See, I feel like I should purchase a proper program and learn on that rather than like, all right, cool, I know how to use Windows Movie Maker. That is not gonna do much good for me, but I learned it. Hey,
I think it's important to know like timeline because like there's this girl who sat next to me. She's a fine human being, but nothing wrong with her. But she could not understand the timeline. She was like, "But it's over here, and I want it over here. Why is this playing like this?" And I'm like,
this is a pretty simple concept, but
I'm like, I'm helping you out because you're a nice person. But like,
let's be honest, yeah.
Yeah, it was hard to watch.
Yeah.
So getting timelines down is huge, which I think obviously you get.
Yeah, it seems simple. I just because video is not my first nature and it's not something I'm used to. Everything I'm trying seems wrong, and I think it's because I have like high expectations for what I want to. I don't want to release something that sucks. I want to release a quality video, but I don't know how to make a quality video yet, so I'm not happy with what I'm shooting. So I mean, I've got a lot of learning to do, but I need to really start,
Have you done anything with like not sliders, Steadicams? Anything
No,
steady?
I was looking into getting one.
This is my Steadicam motion.
That doesn't look very steady, but you're just testing it out, right? I was looking into getting one, and I posted up on Facebook asking recommendations or thoughts on Steadicams. Yeah. And I had a lot of people that were like, "No, don't use a Steadicam. It looks unnatural. Just use just shoot by hand." So, I haven't really tested that theory. I've been wanting to shoot it
depends on what you're shooting.
Right.
For rollers of cars, Steadicams are.
Oh, especially if you're shooting from a lowered car and you're just like, all right, this isn't gonna look good at all. Shooting rollers out of a lowered car sucks, let alone video.
Oh yeah.
Because a video you see every bump, but so I've thought about that, but I've been wanting to just go out and shoot clips of a car and try to produce a video, but I'm sick of seeing my own car. I don't want to take more video and pictures of that because I see it too much as is. And everyone's
every morning like, dang it, it's still there.
Yeah, oh, I still have this car. And all my, everyone's cars have been away for the winter. They're all coming out now, so now I just gotta find time to do it.
Mine, of course, now goes away. Dude, my suspension broke. Did I tell you that?
Oh no.
Where the shock is mounted to the chassis, it rusted.
The shock itself or the arm?
The shock itself has rusted.
So it's time for coilovers.
Rusted away from the chassis. Well, the actual mounting area is
Wait, it doesn't mount on the control arm or something?
No. I have a solid rear axle.
Oh, the rear. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, so you got to put a hole in your rear end in it. Okay. Well, that's gonna be fun.
Pour one out for the boys.
Yeah. Time to get an FC.
I really want an FC. Here's the reason I want the FC. Is whatever FC I'd get would be less powerful than my car now. It'd be slower because it'd be heavier and it'd have a stock engine. Because I can't afford no ported FC right now. But driving my car to and from the shop that it's at now, it's an hour away, in the heat, an FC is just a little bit more comfortable.
You store an hour away?
Yeah.
That's rough.
Well, it's at a shop that, it's an automotive shop. It's my friend's shop.
Okay.
So we're going to fix it there.
Oh, but you don't store it there normally?
No.
Okay. I was going to say, you want to go drive your car, you got to go drive an hour to...
No.
Oh, let's go for a spirited drive. Okay.
I took it there to get tuned.
Oh.
And then my friend Mike was like, I'll tighten up your shocks because they're squeaking or whatever. And he called me that day. He's like, dude, you can't leave the shop like this. We have to fix this. So that's going to be a whole thing. But FCs are just so much more comfortable.
Yeah, they're surprisingly comfy.
Yeah.
Even at the end of my FC when I had solid everything and stiff suspension and whatnot, it was still very comfy. Now those stock seats are real comfy too. Let me tell you. But even in a bucket, the car was still really comfortable for what it was. And that's the thing. If I could justify getting rid of my Acura, I would get a FC and a stock FC and daily in a heartbeat. I would love to daily having a completely stock, comfy, just cruiser. I would love that, but
honestly, RX8s are pretty comfy too.
Yeah, they're fun. I've driven I haven't driven an S1. I've driven an S2, and I absolutely loved it.
What year is S2?
I don't remember.
So I drove an 07.
It's the ones that aren't smiley. I think the 07's an S2.
Okay.
I think. Maybe not. I don't know. RX8s are...
Yeah. I just kind of shunned that.
Right.
Okay.
But I will say, the S2 I've driven, I drove it a bunch. It was an absolute blast to drive.
Oh, yeah.
Handled amazing. Plenty of power for what it was. I 10 out of 10 would drive one. Like, I would love to own one. Now,
I'd just like to say the Rotary community kind of excludes RX8 owners.
Oh, I understand that.
Because I just want to, like...
But I'm just going to get that out there. As a FC and Rotary lover,
yeah.
I drove an RX8 and I loved it. Now, I don't want anything to do with an S1.
I want to get one to daily. Just for
get
like
an
a
S2.
winter. Yeah.
From what I now I don't know. Don't quote me on anything I say, but I don't know anything about RX8s really. But from what I hear, the S2s are a lot more reliable than the S1s. But they're also newer, so that helps. But
I found a running driving 2004, so it's an S1, like the very first year,
cheap.
in automatic for like I think it was $1,500.
You can get manuals for around that.
Really?
It's honestly disappointing how cheap you can get them.
Yeah.
Like one of my friends is trying. He's like, I want an RX8, and like I keep telling him, don't get an S1, just get an S2. They look way better. Just do it. Like just.
Yeah.
And he's like, but like, look how cheap these S1s are. And I'm like,
I want to get. I've been saying this for a while. I want to get a 2004 automatic in silver. I want like the basic, like the worst rotary car ever made. Worst rotary car ever made. I would say is an automatic 4-port.
Honestly, I wasn't aware they made automatic RX8s.
Yes, really? I've seen them. It's weird because the shifter is still in like the same circle, but it has like the Prindle and then like the plus minus thing, and it's like all like. I don't even know how to describe it.
I feel like an automatic
plastic,
rotary car would feel so...
I've driven an FB automatic. Automatic transmissions kill the rotary.
Really?
Because they don't let them rev out.
Oh, yeah.
It was shifting at like
3K,
I mean, granted,
4K.
it was shifting higher up when I was on it. It shifted at like 6,500. But even an FB revs to 7.
Yeah.
And then my engine is 8,000. So...
Right.
I mean, you're killing revs.
Yeah.
So...
I found out the red line of a S4 is different than an S5 the hard way.
Oh.
Yeah, so remember how I had an S5 chassis with an S4 motor?
You didn't switch the gauges.
I didn't think about the fact that the red lines were different. I thought they were just, it's a rotary motor, because at that time I still knew nothing. So I would rev it out, and the red line's what? It starts like 8K is where like the red line starts, but you can like, it shows you can go out to 9 on those, right? So like I'd rev it out, and I'd be like, why does it sound so weird over 7?
You're murdering it.
Yeah, that makes sense. Luckily, I don't feel bad, because the guy that bought that engine bought it to blow up, essentially. He's like, yeah, I'm going to put it in my FC and do like put the turbo setup off of my Turbo 2 engine in there and just see how long it runs. I was like,
did you ever
all right. I don't know. He builds a lot of
8 days later, blown up.
He builds a lot of cars and builds them quickly, and then they just disappear, and so I'm assuming they don't run long. So I don't know, but I didn't feel bad about it. But I was like, this sounds really wrong up high. But I was told they're good to rev out. All right, and then finally I was like, this isn't. Wait, hold on. And I looked at the cluster, and then the other cluster.
You're revving it way past.
It wasn't until I got my S4 that I realized that I set it. And I'm like, oh wow, this red line's low. Oh man, this makes a lot of sense.
I wish I was in the room when you made that connection.
I had a moment. I was like, wow,
you've been over
this
revving.
is bad. All right, I made a mistake.
Yeah.
Good times though. But yeah, I don't know. I like RX8s. I don't like the owners typically. The owners ruin it.
The owners are like...
I hope you don't have many RX8 people listening.
A lot of RX8
really?
viewers.
All right, you're great people.
I'm gonna... No. Listen. Take care of your RX8, because the people, like, RX8 owners buy them thinking that they're going to be like 350Zs and like Subarus. Yeah. And you cannot treat an RX8 like a Subaru.
You can't buy a rotary car, any rotary car, and treat it like a normal car.
Yeah.
It's exactly what you said. Like, it's in the same tier as like Zs and Gs. Right. And all that kind of stuff. It's a sporty car from the same age. Yeah, same age and all that kind of stuff. Same price range. But you actually have to maintain this very well, otherwise it won't last. And that's where they get the bad name for rotaries. I mean, given RX8 engines aren't known to last that long, but rotaries have a bad name for being unreliable because no one maintains them. Right. My FC had... it's got to be over 160,000 miles. When I bought it...
Original engine?
Yeah. So when I bought it, the cluster had been pulled out of another car, and they said, yeah, it has 80,000 miles from what we understand. I was like, wow, that's pretty low. Cool. Went to register it. I registered it, and I was curious, so I looked up the Carfax while I was doing that, waiting in line. And the last time it had been registered was 5 years prior, and that registered mileage was 140,000 miles. And the guy I bought it from drove it from New York to Wisconsin, and that was, a year into, so 4 years between that ownership. And I put 25,000 miles on it myself.
You did?
I did. I drove the hell out of that car. And
I've only put 7 on mine.
I mean, I drove to and from a lot of... Well, okay, I trailered it the first 4 events. And then I was like, wait, this car is actually pretty reliable. I'll drive it to events. And trailering gets really expensive. But anyways, it had a lot of miles. Yeah, no, I beat the hell out of that poor car. I was, I mean, it revs to 7, but I was over 7 most of the time,
Right.
I was beating the crap out of that car. And I was like, all right, I don't feel too bad if it blows up because of how many miles. It had a good life. All right, let's just drive the hell out of it and not hold back. And it just kept going. It just kept taking it. And
if
I
you ever
maintained
want
it.
enjoyment on Facebook, through RX8 Owners, go to the purely RX8 group. Have you been on there?
Nope, that sounds rough, though.
It's so cringy. It's so...
I wish more people maintained Rotary cars.
They were trying to put together a RX8 Calendar, and there's this dude who had a photo shoot with a model.
Oh, no, not this.
Yeah.
Not this
and,
stuff.
no disrespect to anyone, but some people should model, some people just shouldn't.
Some people can model for themselves, and that's
right. It. And that was one of those cases.
Yeah. Now, I understand Rotary cars are... they're RX8s, they're a car that people see as a cool, sporty car.
Right.
So kids see that. I mean, when I was a kid, I was like, oh, RX8s, that looks cool.
Yeah.
So a kid's going to want it. Now, that brings a lot more kids to RX8s than adults, and that's kind of where that comes from. And, I don't want to hate on the owners because you got to start somewhere. Everyone has their
it's
first
not a
car.
blanket statement, but
Right.
on a lot of online forums, the RX8 owners seem to be less informed about what they have than other previous generation owners.
Yeah, that's
is that
that's a vague enough statement.
Have my lawyer confirm that I'm okay by saying that.
No, that's a very valid statement.
I think we both agree that we would own an RX8.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, I hate that I love it, but I love it. Now,
goes back to you gotta hate yourself, but you don't love hating yourself.
And I don't know. I've got a friend who's got one, and she's got 120,000 miles on it. It's an S2.
Okay.
And it still runs fine, and that's the one I've driven, and I love the car. I would without a doubt own one. Yeah. But S2s are still up there in price, not low enough that I'd justify buying one.
Right.
But
so I ask all my guests on the show the same question towards the end. If you could build any Mazda without any price tag, you could build whatever you want. 4-rotor FC. Whatever you want. What would you build? What would be your dream Mazda build?
Man, that's a hard one. I don't know. See, I love FDs because they're timeless. It's an awesome design. But it's not, unique. Something that's always had my eye, despite being, I won't say it's ugly, for the sake of my own, me not looking bad, but Mazda Cosmos. They're not attractive.
Which
generation? The last generation.
So in the 90s? The 3-rotor?
Yeah. Okay. So, the classic, the older ones were cool, too.
Right.
Now, it's not you don't look at it and you're like, wow, that's a stunning body line. No, but it's a classic look to it. And I don't know, I've loved the interior of them. Looks so modern, how it's got the cluster-ish all the way across.
Have you been in one?
I haven't.
They're so sick.
Yeah, it's just a car that for whatever reason, I'd want to piss a lot of people off and slide one.
You know what?
Would that piss you off?
No. It wouldn't piss me off. You know why? I saw on some Rotary group on Facebook, someone demolition derbied one.
Oh, no.
I think it was a 13B one. It wasn't the 20B.
But
still, it was blue, and it was smashed, on either end. They're like, we got our 4th championship with this. I'm like, no. I think it's in Australia, so they're probably
I'm not going to get a drift missile. as you know, I don't like my drift cars to be beat up.
That's true,
Like,
yeah.
If something happens drifting, like whatever it is, yeah. But I'm not gonna like intentionally ruin it. But like, I don't know. It's just one of those things that I think would be really interesting and fun to slide.
So you would do a drift Cosmo?
I think so. It'd be interesting. I mean, I still, no matter what, like I'll go back and get another FC, and I really want to do like a 13B REW FC, but like a very
There's a company that now sells a conversion kit for
really?
for the engine mounts.
Oh, okay.
Angel Motorsports. I don't know
I've heard of them. Yeah.
It's like $600 and some bucks, but it moves because how I always remember it is the FBs mount the engine in the front, the FCs mount in the middle, the FDs mount in the rear.
Okay, gotcha.
RX8s do something else. I don't
They
know.
just
They don't mount
They
at
just
all.
toss it in the engine bay and hope it lasts.
It's duct taped down,
Right.
and then
It
filled
seems
with
like it
vape
sometimes.
juice.
There you go.
That's how it is. No, but yeah, they sell that conversion mount.
Pretty
So
cool. Yeah, I don't know. I've for whatever I wish I could tell you like a moment that like it hit me that I loved FCs, but like
Yeah.
I just love the design of them. So like yeah, there's a lot of different Mazdas that I love and would love to own, but I'll always end up coming back to that. But I mean like I would also like there's a lot of Mazdas, like there's not too many Mazdas I wouldn't own, honestly. Like I don't know.
that's true.
I'd
too.
love like an RX3,
I was
but
gonna
do
say.
something like a classic, like, well, in my eyes, a classic look. Something like simple, like 8-spoke, like Panasport wheels, or just like a retro wheel.
Yeah.
Anything. I don't know. I'm not too picky with
I
that. But
think I would REW swap every single.
That'd be
Rotary.
That's
Or
fine. I'm
every
not
single
opposed to
Mazda,
that. Yeah, but like a proper fitted RX3. I don't know why, but I love how they look with flares. And just some simple something like that would be an awesome cruiser.
You need to come out to the Midwest Mazda meet this year.
I went to one a couple of years ago when I had my FC and it was cool, but there's too many Mazda 3s and such that.
This year, I don't think there were any Mazda 3s. There was like a handful of Miatas. Like literally row of RX2s, row of RX3s, R100s.
What is the
It was funny. I parked next to Merv, and then there's another guy who owns Cali Style Rotary. I forget his name at the moment. Really cool guy.
I know who you're talking about.
You-
I don't remember the name off the top of my head though.
Because all of his accounts are like Cali Style Rotary. He doesn't like use his
Right.
name. I forget his name.
Yeah.
But he had an REW swapped FB, and we were all the 13B RX7s or 13B FBs were all parked next to each other.
I
So-
can't remember the name of it, but there's a event at the Tail of the Dragon with a bunch of rotary cars.
Yes, it was just this past weekend actually.
Seven stock.
Well, that's
That's
out
a different
in
show. Never
California.
mind.
I'm going
Yeah.
to that.
That's
in
a show
November.
of a thing. Yeah, I don't know, but I always see all my rotary friends that are go to that
Deals
event,
Gap
posting
Rotary
pictures of it
Rally,
and everything.
DGRR.
Yeah, that's it.
It just
And
happened
I'm just
2
sitting
weeks
there
ago.
drooling like I need another
Yeah.
rotary car so bad so I can
Yeah.
go to this. I don't know.
One day
Yeah.
we'll get a rotary.
I don't know.
car.
I don't think I could pick one car, but
One car to build.
I'd love a Cosmo.
A drift Cosmo would be.
It'd piss a lot of
really-
people off.
Yeah, it would.
Oh,
It would.
and that's okay with me. I don't need people's approval.
Yeah, and that thing would be, if you didn't gut it, that thing would be comfy.
Oh,
at
yeah.
night.
It'd be
the
super
back seats are
comfy.
like little couches.
Right.
It's insane.
I would. Oh man.
Yeah.
Now you got me dreaming over here.
Have you seen my video about the Cosmo and stuff? My friend Ryan Berg, he took me back roading in his 3-rotor Cosmo, and
I
it
don't think I've
was
seen that.
magical. Those things are so
Yeah,
sick.
I don't know. I wish there were more of them around, but
Yeah. I wish that they
for
were.
obvious reasons there aren't.
Yeah, that's true. So, well, thanks for coming on the show.
Yeah, no problem.
What did we do? We did an hour and 3 minutes.
Damn.
That went by
It
fast.
did.
But so Tracer Media on Instagram.
Correct.
Tracer Media on Facebook.
Correct.
Where else are you located? At?
I have my website is tracer-media.com.
Okay.
And that's all I have right now.
And that's where people can find you. I would highly recommend going and checking that out because your photography is awesome.
I appreciate that.
So, yeah. Thank you guys for watching. It's been a long hour apparently. Very tired. But thanks for coming on the show.
No problem. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Well, that concludes our episode of Let's Talk Mazda. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you'd like to see the video version, head on over to Shooting Cars on YouTube. I'll leave a link here on the podcast. But again, thank you guys so much for watching, and tune in next time.